Welcome back to another episode of NFT Catcher Podcast. We'd like to remind everybody that nothing on the show is meant as financial advice, and to please do your own research. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Now the subject is NFTs.
They're known as non-fungible tokens, or NFTs.
NFTs are exploding in popularity.
This is a technology that will forever change the way people interact.
So it is happening whether you understand it and like it or not.
This phenomenon is moving. The digital.
You have now joined Jenny from the blockchain and Michael Keene on the NFT Catcher Podcast.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the NFT Catcher Podcast with me, Jenny from the blockchain, and my co-host, Michael Keene. For today's interview, we have Kris, also known as I Create Life on Twitter, who is an AI educator and AI consultant. We have been talking about AI a lot recently, and it's only fair to bring on an actual AI expert to talk about this and really dive deep into the world of AI and learn more about AI. So without further ado, Kris, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Yeah. Michael was pumped to invite you. Michael, I'll let you talk about. Michael's just been.
No, it's all good. Yeah. No, like I said, when Kris first popped on, I'm starstruck. It's been so fun to follow your journey. As I've been getting into AI, you were one of the first people that came across my feed. I was following you, I think, at like 10,000 followers. All of a sudden, I'm looking now, you have 41,000. It's been going crazy. And that's only over the last like 6 weeks. That must be pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
It's true. I wish I joined Twitter community earlier because I did have my Twitter account since 2014. But I wasn't using it until 2 months ago. And then I started using it more actively and just found this incredible AI community. And I just can't get enough of it.
What do you think got your account to pop like that? Did you do anything specifically, or is it just your reputation?
So, okay, I'll start from the beginning. I actually tried to use my account somewhere around November last year. I came to Twitter and it's been a while. Like I had my account for so many years because I was doing journalism in the past. And if you are a journalist, you have to be on Twitter. So I was on Twitter. I had like 1,000 followers who were mostly my classmates, my professors from my journalism course, and other people I met through journalism. So I wasn't really using it because I was doing photography and I was doing other things. So I didn't really have to post anything on Twitter. I was mostly using Instagram. And then last year, when I started using AI quite actively, I made a kind of an attempt to go on Twitter because I was doing a lot of copyright activism in AI space. And I was told that my lawyers are on Twitter and they're tweeting about me. And I thought, well, I need to go and see. So I went on Twitter, and after 2 hours on Twitter, I deactivated my account. And I thought I will never, ever come back. It's like dark place of internet where everyone hates me. And for 29 days, it was deactivated. And if I if I forgot about it, it would be deleted. But like the last day, I just came back and I thought, well, I'll resurrect it. And I returned my Twitter. And still, like, there was a lot of anti-AI messages and a lot of quite negative messages. They kind of like decided that I'll just push through and I will just be there and try not to read comments like anti-AI comments and hateful comments about me. But I didn't expect that there is such a great AI community there. It almost felt like it was me, my attackers, and few of my journalism professors who were just like liking occasionally stuff I write. And I think December was extremely hard. It was the worst month for me in terms of anti-AI attacks because I was published a lot. And every time I would get published, it would just be a wave of those messages on all of my social media and my email and with my home address.
Let me ask you, what kind of attacks, like attacks about AI, like AI is going to destroy the world, you're destroying the world, or personal attacks?
It was mostly personal attacks
Really?
because I used to work as a full-time photographer. My career was in a photography space, and there were a lot of photographers who knew me and they weren't happy. And on top of that, obviously strangers who for some reason took their time, went on my Instagram and would write a very long comments that will not age well. I keep them all. I used to kind of delete, hide them. Now I'm like, this is history. I need to keep them. I treasure them. For now, I treasure them, and I'm like, okay, I get less and less of those, to be honest. This was first week actually where I did not receive any harassment message on any of my social media and email. I'm thrilled.
So photographers, a lot of photographers were very upset with you that you were using AI, recreating images, whatever it is.
I think at first it was more like I used to do very like traditional art. I used to build sculptures with papier-mâché and whatever stuff I could find. I used to take photos with this, props, using smoke and light. And I was using Photoshop quite a bit. But a lot of my work was like no Photoshop, and I took pride in being able to create surreal images without Photoshop at all. It was almost like two extremes. First one was no Photoshop, but it looks like out of this world and no one can believe it was shot in my room. And another extreme was like a lot of Photoshop, like so much, like every single pixel is Photoshop. So I feel like I put a lot of work into my photography, and then all of a sudden I started generating images and posting them on my Facebook about 100 times a day. I just couldn't stop myself. I loved it so much. I was so inspired. I really wanted to share. And I think people around me thought it's lazy. It's not like they didn't actually attack me at first about theft or anything like this, because at the time, I think people didn't quite understand how these models were trained. It was more like, it's just you write a text and you get an image, and this is not enough effort. But then it progressed, and it wasn't just photographers. I'm not saying that. It was like, I felt like the entire world who did not like or were scared about AI. But I think things are getting better, much better. People get used to it more. There is more talks about ethics. We have commercially safe trained model, and like people are training models from scratch, and people are a little bit getting around that, I think.
Yeah, I hear that. It definitely takes time. I feel I'm actually kind of in that boat right now where you are, where I want to share a million things. I'm like you said, you're inspired. I mean, I'm constantly in our Discord, in a private Discord. I've started to share a little bit, but like I want to share a lot more. I don't want to kill people. But I feel a little bit like I've spent the last 2 years making friends with all these artists and these amazing artists that have spent their whole life. And I've never been able to make art. And I feel a little bit like if I'm putting stuff out there, like this is art, I'm an artist. I'm not like saying that, but it definitely has like, I feel like some people might think it's cringe. I don't know if anyone else relates with that, but like, I mean, I love sometimes when they pop up and the stuff I created blows my mind. A lot of the images that come out of it. And I have so much fun. I mean, I'm doing hundreds a day right now, probably, to be honest with you. I really am. Like the end of last month, I was $4 for another hour, $4 for another hour, $4 for another hour. So it's good stuff.
I hope you share more. I really hope you will share more. And just, I was thinking about that. I went through every phase of art that I could possibly think. Like when I was a kid, I was making stuff. When I was an adult, I was making stuff in like different mediums. And I do remember when I started using Photoshop a few years ago, a lot of photographers who were journalists, they told me, you will never get employed if you put this stuff out, because people will think you Photoshop your stuff, and if you're a journalist, it has to be like 100% raw. And I thought about it back then, and I thought that the problem isn't those tools. I think the problem is a bit of transparency, that, say, if I create a fine art piece and I'm very clear that it's Photoshop, no one is going to say, okay, this dragon is real and Christina met this dragon in New York. Everyone will be like, yeah, this is clearly Photoshop. But if I take a picture and I kind of alter it and then I sell it to a newspaper and they publish it like it was real, that's where problems start. And I think that can be solved with transparency. And there are now organizations that try to kind of bring that transparency into AI as well. So I feel it's just temporarily thing that will be solved as we learn more about this technology.
Yeah, I think so. Were you trying to hop in there for a sec, Jenny?
Oh, I was just gonna say, you should change your bio to AI artist. I do feel like you shouldn't feel
Me? I should?
yeah, like because you always are like creating art with AI, and I also feel like you shouldn't be like, oh, I can't claim that title because I'm not like a real artist. I'm just an AI artist. And it's like, you can, you've been creating AI art. Like that's an actual thing. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, you don't have to have like a certain level of experience, like to consider yourself an artist. I think if they tap into their creativity, like they're an artist in their own way. Obviously some people are a lot more experienced than others, but yeah, don't be afraid to claim your title, Michael. Come on.
I love that. That makes me remember. I kind of came up with the title AI native artist.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah,
so
AI native artist.
So because I'm not like I didn't do anything before. I'm like, they have crypto native artists and all that. So I guess I'm an AI native artist. I might put that in my bio because I might be the first person to ever put that in there.
Let's go.
That I might do.
Yeah, I completely agree with you I agree with you, Jenny, that it's if we create something, we are an artist. The question is, are we commercial artists or not? But that's another story. There are a lot of artists who are famous and probably dead that never made a penny on their art. And they are not, commercial artists because they didn't sell their art, but they were still artists and no one questioned that. On the other hand, in terms of AI, I think if you call yourself an artist, it means you use something in a creative way. And it's just the term is so vague that people don't really, they think, okay, what is artist? Is it a painter? Is it someone who just paints? Or is it someone who takes photos and only uses Photoshop to adjust them? That's an artist. And if they use just photos, those are photographers. They are not artists. They just click a button. But I think if we define the term artist as anyone who is being creative, it really is any of us. Like any child is an artist. No one questions that for some reason. Like no one would say, no, this kid is not an artist. No, it's like when you're born, you are an artist. So I don't think that ever changes. So if you need to put it out there, you can, and people will believe you because it's one of those things. It's like self-assigned. You don't have to do a test or get a certificate, or if you're a doctor, you have to, but if you're an artist, you don't really have to.
That's so true. Yeah, you can't just claim, oh, I'm a doctor. But yeah, you can kind of like claim I'm an artist, people aren't going to question you. And obviously you could go to art school and stuff, but I feel like that's not even the route that most artists or like famous artists take. Like people don't think about that, like, oh, do you have a degree in art? Like, it's
I feel like if a degree in art, it's more like if you want to be an arts professor, but I probably wouldn't put arts professor in my bio. But other than that, it's like,
cool. I love that. Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about, is it Zarya of the Dawn? Is that how you pronounce the first name?
Yeah.
Cool. So you copyrighted, you created a comic book. We'll talk about the process, but I think pretty much all with AI, and you actually sent it into the copyright office. They approved it. And then what happened? Other people complained to them?
So what happened was I created only images using AI because at the time when I was making it, there was no ChatGPT. Believe it or not, there was
What?
A world before ChatGPT.
What?
There was GPT-3, but it wasn't good.
Mhm.
So no one was using it much apart from selective few who figured out how to use it, but it wasn't cool. So it was like, yeah, I wouldn't use it for writing a comic book. Besides, I did have a story that I wrote a couple of years ago. So I just visualized that story in the form of a comic book, generating images with Midjourney. And then I got really involved with Facebook community. There was a nice community, but like at the very beginning, it still is kind of like lots of things happened over there. Unfortunately, the founder of the biggest group just passed away a couple of weeks ago. Which is really sad. But like at the beginning of this like AI generated revolution, he just started this group, which changed its name like 5 times, but it's now 500,000 of people community. So I shared my comic book back there, and I would share 1 page a day, and I would share all my prompts and all my process. And people kind of started being really supportive of that. And it wasn't a lot of people, but it was maybe like 80 people who were like super supportive and writing nice stuff to me. We became friends. We still are friends. And then at the same time, the group was growing. And of course, a lot of people who don't like AI joined that public group, and they started trolling all their people who love AI. And I remember I started getting a lot of comments saying, oh, this is waste of time because it's not copyrightable. You can never publish and sell it because it doesn't have IP. And at the time, I knew nothing about copyright. I'm not a lawyer. It's been only 6 years since I moved to the US, so I didn't even know because I lived in the UK, and in the UK there is no such thing as the Copyright Office. There is no office like that. People believe if you made something, you have copyright just by default. So there is no way to go somewhere and copyright it, as long as I know. Maybe things will change, but when I moved here, I was so surprised. I was like, a copyright office, like for real. And then I went to a website. It was very outdated website, but I thought how hard it may be to just copyright like 17 pages of my comic book. I Googled a bit of info how to copyright a comic book, and I did the best I could. I specified it was digital work. There was nowhere where I could write more explanation because I would say what I used, but there was nothing. So I thought, okay, digital work it is. And then also on the cover of my comic book, I wrote Midjourney in really big
saw
font.
that. Yep.
So it wasn't like I was hiding it. I didn't try to mislead anyone. I was pretty sure that every person heard about Midjourney by now. It was all over the news, like everywhere. So
people still don't know it. People still don't know it. I talk to people, they still don't know.
That is something I knew after.
Yeah.
And of course, I got copyright in 4 days, which really surprised me because I was like, whoa, that was fast. And then I wrote about it on social media, and I showed my copyright numbers so people could check. Like, you can check your work if it was copyrighted. It's like a public record. And then for like 1 month, I was giving interviews every single day about it. And then in about a month and a half, I got a very long letter from the Copyright Office. And apparently there was a journalist, and as long as I know, he was from the Washington Post. And he reached out to the Copyright Office and asked about it. And the Copyright Office had no idea. So they sent me a big letter asking me to send them a very kind of detailed explanation how my work was created for them to decide how to proceed. And I was a bit lost because I just started my new job. I was head of AI product, and it was a very responsible position. So I was like, I don't really have time. I was working like 14 hours a day, so I didn't have time to write a detailed letter. Besides, I generated like 3,000 images because it was Midjourney version 3. It was bad. It wasn't like now you put one sentence and you get beautiful images. It was like you spend an hour to get one decently looking image that you want. So and I wrote on social media. That's what I usually do when I'm in trouble or when I don't know what to do. I write on social media and ask people what they think I shall do. And right away, moderators of Midjourney official Facebook group, they reached out to me and they said, do you want us to contact Midjourney? Because they apparently know how to contact Midjourney. And I said, yeah, that will be nice. I feel like I'm in a lot of trouble because of this work. So they contacted Midjourney. And after that, in a couple of days, I got an email, and general counselor from Midjourney, he's like a lawyer. He said that Midjourney is offering me to cover like my lawyer expenses. So the lawyer would help me write a letter. And at the time I was like, whoa, that will be so great if someone helps me write a letter. If it was now, I would probably do something differently. I would probably ask internet for a pro bono lawyer to be completely independent. But at the time, I didn't have a lot of following. No one really knew about me apart from those interviews I gave. And I kind of felt really down because I was like, I copyrighted the first thing and then it's about to be taken away. So what is going to happen to my reputation? So I agreed. I was like, yeah, sure. Like, give me a lawyer and let him help. And then it was still really complicated to gather all the information. So I asked my community, and about 50 people spent time looking through my archive, putting together all those documents and helping me create a document about my process, because I was working without days off for like 2 months. So the community helped me. Midjourney's lawyers helped me write that cover letter, and then we sent it out to the copyright office. And then it took maybe 3 months for them to respond. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe 2 months, but it felt like a very long time because every 2 weeks, some news agent would write about how my copyright got canceled. And I would contact my lawyers and they would be like, it's fake news. Nothing happened. There are no updates. But every single time it would happen, I would again get this wave of haters writing me. And then also this mad love from the community saying how sorry they are. And I would have to explain to everyone that nothing happened. We're still waiting. There is no news. And it's been like a roller coaster for this whole time of me waiting for a response. And then when response came, something also interesting happened because different newspapers reported it differently. For example, the Wall Street Journal said that I won and kept my copyright, but images were excluded. But I still hold copyright for my comic book, which is true. On the other hand, some newspapers reported that I lost and completely kind of forgot that I do still hold my copyright, but they was like, she lost, images aren't copyrightable, AI is waste of time. And I was like, where does this come from? It's not really true. And it's so easy to check. It's a public record. So it was a bit like going back and forth with different big famous news agents to tell them how it really is and to just ask them to report it as it is, not as like clickbait, sensational thing, because every clickbait, every sensational thing resulted in me being harassed brutally online. And honestly, my address, everyone knows my address now, thanks to the Copyright Office who publishes as a public domain.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, honestly, with so much harassment and the newspapers reporting it as fake, I was a bit concerned. I was like, well, it's kind of, shall I move now, or what is going to happen? But thankfully, nothing bad happened. Also, I got some gifts in my at my place, because I think law students were the ones who were mostly like interested in this case, so they would send me like thank you cards and like comforting messages to my address, which was like so unexpected, because I was like, it's kind of a good thing, but it's a little bit creepy because I didn't share my address, and I didn't know if you register for a copyright, your address becomes public domain.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty wild. What you were talking about, and we've talked a lot about kind of the haters and the hate you get. I was reminded of a quote from an old friend of mine, and just you could always think of it when you get hate, and it says, if you don't have haters, you ain't popping. So, the more haters you have, the better you're doing. They're gonna come. They're gonna come.
Right then.
Yeah, you're popping. You're popping right now. They're gonna come.
Oh God, I don't know. I was always feeling like, gosh, if you have good intention and you really try to live your life good and you do like good deeds, you're nice to people, you're honest, like completely open about everything. I thought that would never happen. I always felt like, yeah, you have to do something. No, it's nothing at all. It's like I volunteer with homeless people here in New York, and believe it or not, we volunteer on the street. They're like literally people sleeping on the street in completely bad way, like elderly people sometimes people like with disability. There would be someone passing by telling us that we do the wrong thing, like you're enabling this behavior, you're like horrible, like. And I was like, oh gosh, it's like literally no matter what you do, if you do something, there will be someone who misunderstands it, I guess.
That's the truth. That's definitely a good way to look at it. And another suggestion, do you know about UPS stores where you can go to a UPS store and you can get an address? It's like a real address in a box, and you can use that as kind of your mailing address, your public address. And if you're in New York, there's probably one
that works with official letters like that.
That could be true.
What I know now is that if I had a lawyer back then, they could have done it in a way that no one would see my address, but would see like a law firm address. But I didn't have any lawyers back then. And right now, I actually do have different lawyers. I changed my lawyers because I decided to keep going in the copyright case. But I really wanted lawyers who aren't really connected to any big company, just to make sure that it's independent and it's my interests and the way I view things. So I have pro bono lawyers, which means they are for free because of these cases of a public interest. And it's not this comic book anymore because I moved on. I made another comic book using only free tools that people use, and also kind of tried to use more of my creativity, more of my drawings, and to show the Copyright Office that it is a creative medium and it is art. So we will see how that goes.
Where can we read your stuff? Where can we read your comics?
All Twitter. Everything is now about Twitter. I do have a website, but my website is very minimalistic. I post there my tutorials, my helpers, explainers. I did not post any comic books in there. I just post like educational material there and make it as easy as possible for people to find. The website is called Kris.art.
Nice website. I like that. Nice.
Thank you. I mean, I wish I could have Kris.ai, but that's expensive.
Yeah, I actually literally was on GoDaddy earlier today and looked up Keen.ai, and that's gone, but mkeen.ai is available.
Nice, get it.
Yeah, I think now that I said it, I have to buy it before we go live for someone to snag it.
Yeah, go ahead. That sounds
Right.
like really cool.
Yeah, I
Very
know.
short.
Start putting some of my stuff out there, a little portfolio.
Yes,
Yeah,
let's go.
I'll
Yeah,
visit that.
yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that for sure.
Kris, do you think that there's a lot of people, because you're very open about, the fact that you're using AI to create your comics and your art and everything. And do you think that there's a lot of people, or maybe not a lot of people, but that there are people out there that are using AI, but just not saying that it's AI?
Oh yeah, absolutely. All my friends.
All the trouble that comes with kind of saying that.
I have old friends who at first they were hating AI. They were like really against that on social media. And then all of a sudden they change their mind, but they don't tell people about it because I was very open sharing about harassment. They were a lot. When people say like, oh, that's not harassment, it's just different opinion. No, we got death threats. We got a poll which was asking people on Twitter if you would punch an AI artist, and it was 30% of people saying that they would. So it was real harassment. It's still going on. So I do understand those people who heard my experience that they do want to use AI, but they don't want to be too open about it. And those are quite famous photographers in my circle, and they would send me their results and they would say, look, how to do this, how to do that. And honestly, I can totally understand that. Also, people who make their living, like I have few friends who are in publishing world, and they're like, I can't possibly share that I use AI because I can see how everyone around me is anti-AI. So I feel like it's just nature of it. It's the same thing when something is stigmatized and when you can see people getting in trouble, people getting harassed, the reaction, especially if you have kids, if you have family, you wouldn't really put them at risk. I don't have kids yet. I think if I had kids, maybe I wouldn't be so courageous and bold about it. But because I'm like not responsible of any human life, I'm fine doing it. But I do quite understand people who are using it and kind of discreet about it. There are also people who use it in like merchandise. They make t-shirts, they make cups, they kind of sell it on Etsy. There are people who use it in tattoo. They use it as tattoos. And then they say, if I tell people that I use AI, I may get in trouble. So it's one of those things that doesn't really encourage transparency. And I feel that, again, like I said at the beginning, we need transparency and we need people to feel safe about it. Because right now it often feels like AI is a crime. And if you are open about it, you'll be called a thief or you'll be harassed. And then you will be told you're not a victim, you're doing something so terrible. And it's been hard. But when something like this happens, people who are in a group that's been harassed, they tend to unite. And that is what happened to the AI community. Right now, it's the best community I've ever seen. Everyone is so supportive and helpful. And when I say AI community, I don't mean generative AI. It's just people who are open-minded about it. Usually it's photographers, like traditional photographers who use AI. It's painters who use AI for brainstorming, or people who understand that AI is everywhere. It's in Google Maps, it's in Photoshop, it's in other tools. So it's like not really fair to harass people who are using it just a little bit more and are open and honest about it. So yeah, I feel like it's an interesting time in history, and I know that this will pass. I do try not to take things personally in terms of like, I try not to hold grudge against people who messaged me with like negative messages a few months ago. I honestly I don't feel bitter towards them. It definitely wasn't pleasant, But I do understand it's a difficult time, it's a change, it's hard to adapt. But I just realized that all I can do as one person is educate myself, educate others, learn everything I can about ethics, do the best I can to use this as safe as possible and promote it, and again, learn about it, kind of care about it. So, and if some people don't kind of misunderstand my intention, then, well, let them be.
Very nice. Go ahead, Jenny.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's crazy because I didn't think that people were so against AI art, because I also think that people in the NFT space are a little more open-minded, because we also get hated on a lot by, like the average Joe of
Scam,
like, NFTs
fraud.
are a scam. Yeah, so I think people in the NFT space are definitely more open-minded to AI art. So I haven't seen much hate on it, but I know it's kind of there, and you kind of opened my eyes up to like, oh wow, this is really, I mean, that's how something is really an emerging, technology, something that's like going to change the world, because at first people hate on it, right? And then they're going to start to use it, then they're going to start to love it, and next thing you know, it's like you're a hero, where in the beginning you're like a villain. So yeah, I love that you're very open about using AI and educating people on AI, and like that's what we need. We don't need people hiding, like making it seem like it's bad and like being shameful about it. Like, I love that you're out there, advocating for AI.
About NFTs, few days ago, I actually learned how to generate NFTs. It's like you write a prompt and it just gives you like 9 monkeys in different outfits, or like 9 frogs in different outfits. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So I posted it. And the comments I got were very interesting. First, I got comments from parents. Those were thrilled. Those were like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna make a children book for my kids. I'm gonna cut every frog out, and it will be in different situations, because it's really hard to make a consistent character with AI. So I was like, oh, this is cool. These are not NFTs for them. They have no idea what NFTs are. They just want the kid to have like cute characters in different outfits. And then I got some messages like, I thought NFTs were to support artists, and you are just taking it from artists because they are going to use this technology instead of like painting or making those NFTs by hand. They are going to use this prompt and do it. And it was very interesting to me that, because I'm not very familiar with NFTs, I thought you support an artist. It's not like give and take. You just support them for whatever they do. I did see some frames from films people were making as NFTs. And I remember I was thinking, how am I going to use this? Like, what am I going to do with them? And then when I thought about it, oh, you are supporting an artist, so it doesn't really mean like what they put out. Maybe they are a spoken poet. So their art is to go out and to have this performance. And maybe what they are minting is like, I don't know, an AI video with a little bit of their poetry. It doesn't mean that you get a poet in your house and they're going to read you that poem. It's like you are buying a book from them, but they're going to sell that book to a lot of people, and that's how they're going to make a living. So from that perspective, I thought, if I build a sculpture and I take a photo of it and I sell that photo to 1,000 people, no one will get my sculpture because it's just one in my home deteriorating because it's made of garbage, because I make sculptures out of garbage. No one actually wants my sculpture in their home, to be very frank. It also smells quite bad. But they just buy that one photo, like borrowing a book or like buying a book. So I thought, then why wouldn't it be okay for me to generate some idea and they will get NFT out of it? So I was thinking about it. I'm still not convinced I shall make NFTs because I need to learn a little bit more about it, what it is about. And I have a lot of friends who are very successful in that space. And these friends are like artists, like actually draws with that stuff, like makes videos like completely like incredible. But yeah, it's one of those things that I question a lot when I generated those NFTs, knowing very little about it, just thinking, oh, so cool. AI can just do those. What do you think about it, two of you? Because I want to learn something during this podcast too.
Yes. So you created code that you would say, give me 10 frogs in different outfits, and then it would spit
9.
Okay.
They're adorable.
Right. Yeah. And it was all, that's a similar concept to the generative art projects, but usually they're like 10,000 pieces or 5,000 pieces. But the NFT doesn't have to be like that. Like, you can make NFTs of your actual outputs, of your prompts, because Midjourney gives you like it could just be, instead of being like a project where it's all frogs in different outfits, you could make the most amazing art pictures you want to take and sell those as NFTs. You could auction them off. There's really great tools, really great websites. Manifold comes to mind, where you could for free put something out there for fun and see how it goes, like a piece that you created, put a story behind it. And you could decide to sell, like they have open edition, quote unquote, where however many people want to buy it, and you sell them for $20 each. Or you can do a 1-of-1 and put it on auction, or you can make a set of 10 of them and put them at a certain price. There's lots of different options for you to do if you wanted to go that route. If you wanted to make like a big project of all frogs, you could do that as well. And that's, that's absolutely.
I only have 9, I'm
Right.
afraid.
Right.
That's all I've got. And to be quite honest, if you look quite close,
Yeah.
some of them don't miss a bit of parts.
Yeah. When I zoom in, sometimes I'm like, oh, I see.
They're not perfect frogs.
Right.
They're imperfect AI.
That's okay. That imperfect is good. But like the thing I would say is, if you do like a character PFP type of project, people expect a little more from you. They expect you to start a business and have returns for them. Oh yeah. It's like a whole thing.
No, my frogs aren't
like
for
if
sale
you
anymore.
just sell art, if you put it out there as fine art, they're not going to expect like.
That's very interesting, Ariel. You see, I have a lot to learn about NFTs, because all I know about NFTs is copyright issues and IP issues, because I go to speak at those conferences where there are only lawyers, and there would be me and the whole panel of blockchain lawyers.
Right.
The first part, I would just listen to everything about NFT, everything about those like board monkeys stuff, and I would not understand most of it. But then it would be my time to speak, and I would just give a lecture, and that's it. But I learned a bit of copyright and how it's connected with blockchain. You see, I even know a little bit about NFTs, but it was my blind spot, because I just was so into AI and learning and teaching, kind of can't really know everything.
I don't think most of these artists are copywriting anything.
No, they do not.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I talked to blockchain lawyers because I was genuinely curious. And I said, tell me, maybe I don't need to copyright my Zarya. I can just mint it. And he said, well, Christina, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't mean that copyright is irrelevant. It's like disappears. It still exists. Like technically, you have to have copyright of the thing you mint. And I said, yeah, but people don't. And he says, yeah, because there is 80% of copyright infringement in that space. And when he said that, I was like, yeah, maybe they all think about that copyright thing as I thought when I asked about it. Because in my head, it was like, if you mint it, it's kind of alternative to copyright, that you don't need any copyright registration. But apparently it's not so. And a lot of people, usually the only time when you really need copyright is when you are a business, like say Nike. And you have a logo, and then some other shop starts using exact same logo, exact same name, and sell stuff. You're like, oh, no, we are Nike, we own this. And then for them to be able to go to court in the US, you have to have a copyright registration. Otherwise, you will not get any money. You can go to court without that registration, but you will not get any monetary compensation.
Right.
The only thing that will happen, they'll ask them to stop doing it, but that's it. If they made like billions of dollars, you're not going to get anything. That's why everyone cares about IP in terms of business, because they want to be able to kind of protect their stuff. But artists normally don't just copyright every piece. So yeah, I did it as a kind of test. So I wasn't really like expecting. I didn't sell a single copy, so I didn't plan to sell it. So
interesting. The funny thing is about Nike, all they worry about the copyright. Half the Nikes out there are fake.
I know, and those generative images are so good. It's so good.
I heard you on Twitter Spaces. I think it was last week. I forget the lady, but it was a really good Twitter Space. Do you go on often, or?
No, I go very not often. First, because I work a lot.
Okay.
And second, I'm a freelancer now, so I have to work like a lot, but less than when I worked at startup, but a lot. And also, to be very honest, Twitter is a little bit funny in that way. There are a few people who were really like aggressive towards me, so I blocked them. But when I go to Twitter Space and they are there, it's like they can still listen and they can still talk and they can still kind of do something. So I kind of was avoiding a few Twitter Spaces because I felt like I don't want to be attacked. And that particular Twitter Space, I talked to the host and I gave them a list of people who are like,
if they show up, get them out of there.
Well, I didn't say get them out of there. It's kind of freedom of speech. They're free to come anywhere. It's just that they are not a speaker during when I speak. And she just promised me to kind of have a safe space for me. So it was really nice. But I can't really explain it to every single person who invites me to a Twitter space. I'm very, very selective when I go.
Understood.
I much prefer podcasts because it's much more safe and nice.
I hear that. I hear that for sure. I've actually been looking for more AI Twitter Spaces. I've been on NFT Twitter Space for whatever it is, a year now, and I'm on there like all day, and they're starting to get a little bit redundant. So I've been switching over to AI, and there's some small ones, like a group of 10 people. We'll be talking about it.
You should host some. You should. I can see you starting like once a week.
Here's what I was getting at. So Kris, your prompt challenge is so perfect for a Twitter Space. You get on there, you put out the challenge. People could talk about their progress. They could put their results in the comments, talk about it and all. If you wanted to do that, I would host it. I would happily host it for you. You'd be the star. I'll do everything. I'll host it.
Come sometimes.
Okay. Right. Okay. I even have a name for it. I have a good name for it. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Prompt in alt.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that a good name? Because that's like the Twitter thing where they put the prompt in alt.
Yeah, it's all yours. I'm just going to visit sometimes.
Okay, that's what's up.
Give you a list of people who dislike me a lot. So.
You give me the list and I will. Yeah, I wouldn't let anybody.
It's not a very long list. Okay. It's like short list.
Jenny from the blockchain, you're on the list.
Jenny from the blockchain is the best.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, let's go. Quote that.
We'll make an audiogram. Jenny from the blockchain is the best.
Yes.
Nice. So, okay, what else do we have going on? We're actually coming up on an hour. I'm not sure what your time is. I want to be respectful. Do we have maybe another 10 minutes or so to chop it up? If you have to go, you have to go. I mean, we definitely appreciate your time. This is so much fun. I could honestly go for another hour. I'm about halfway through my questions.
No one is going to listen to it for another hour. Trust me.
Yeah. Okay. We got about 10 more minutes. So let's see. Can you share a couple mid-journey tips and tricks with people? So, real quick, if anybody wants to get on Midjourney, you can actually start it and try it for free. You can do it.
No, you can't.
You can't anymore?
No. Yes, you cannot anymore because they canceled trials because people were abusing it so bad. They were just
Oh,
creating accounts and using it for free. So at least that's what I've heard. So
okay.
so one of my tutorials is outdated and is not
That's a shame. I've been telling people that. Whoops.
yeah, me too. It's quite recent. I think it's been like a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And at first they were saying like maybe they will turn back, but last thing I've heard, they're not planning to kind of return it. It's mostly because I think there are so many users now, which means you use a lot of GPU
Yeah,
power.
yeah.
And if people just keep creating those accounts endlessly, it's just hard for them to do it. So they had to cancel that option.
That makes sense.
For
Can
now,
you
at
still do
least for now.
relaxed mode for free or no?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
can do relaxed mode for free.
Yeah, if you have $30 subscription and up, you can do relax mode.
Okay, so you
I
still
think it's a basic account. It's a basic account for $10 where you can't. It's just like 200 images, if I'm not mistaken. And then there are like other subscriptions which are more expensive where you can have relax mode.
Okay.
Unless it changed in past 24 hours.
No, you're probably right. You're probably more ahead of it than I am. So I definitely want to figure out a way because because I've onboarded a bunch of people on there, but it hasn't been for a few weeks. So it's probably has changed. But do you have any like tips or tricks for people as they do get going to get to get I mean, well, you can talk about any. Midjourney is kind of the one I use. I know you use a bunch of different ones.
Yeah, I use them all.
Yeah.
I that's actually an advice I'm going to have to all of you, that you use more than one platform. I specifically try to use several because right now we don't know what is going to happen, and there are a lot of things going on in AI space. So it is very good to use several platforms, as many as you can actually. Especially if the platform is free. If you have a powerful computer, you can have Stable Diffusion. It's a little bit harder to install, but then you can generate for free. I do use OpenAI DALL-E for in-painting and out-painting. I do not use it for generation of images because I don't think it's really good. It's not. But for in-painting, I find it way better than Stable Diffusion. Even when I use Stable Diffusion with this special in-painting model, it's still not as good. It's kind of okay, it's decent, but I find in-painting and out-painting of DALL-E, it's just really good.
Dumb question. What is in-painting and out-painting?
So it's like, for example, you get an image and hands are bad.
Yeah, okay.
Like you have 6 fingers. You go to this DALL-E, you take a brush, you paint out all the hands, and you write a prompt, and it generates your perfect hands.
Oh, and this works good in DALL-E, so you could take your images from anywhere, put them in there. Oh, yeah. Wow.
We need this in Photoshop. Whoever is listening to me, if you have any power, we need this in Photoshop because it was so nice. There is a plugin in Photoshop that does that, but it's bad. It's not very good. I installed it. I spent like whole evening trying to make that work from GitHub, and then it was a complete disappointment. And I'm sorry if someone who made it is listening. Maybe I have not updated it. I am happy to give it another chance, but it was not as good as DALL-E. Nothing like this. And then again, like other platforms, there are, let me think, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, DALL-E. There is Bing. I have not used generative AI. I only use text in Bing. But in those challenges that we do all the time, people post Bing generations, and they are good, and they say it's free. So I would give it a go. And then there is Adobe Firefly, which is not commercially out yet right now as we do this podcast. So you will get like a watermark, and please don't remove it because not compliant right now. You can't use it for business. You can just play with it, like test it, leave feedback. But the good thing about it is that that was trained on commercially safe model. So for example, I work with brands. I freelance and I work with brands. And all brands want Firefly because they don't want to be in trouble with not having IP. They always ask if we can use Firefly. And for now, I have to say no because it's not commercially released yet. But because we know that eventually it will be, so it is a good idea to learn how to use it, to learn how to prompt it. I would say Firefly prompting is quite close to version 4 of Midjourney. It's very intuitive, and you don't have to write like Unreal Engine and stuff like that. It's kind of gets it. And with Midjourney, it's kind of using versions that like version 4, version 5. They promise version 6 quite soon. So using those, because I also find that different versions give kind of different result and the prompting is a little bit different. So it's good to kind of learn it to be able to produce something. And yeah, as for tips, I like challenging myself and others to create something very specific. Like it's not likely that a brand or some company will hire you to create some random image. They will probably hire you to create something very specific. So try to learn how to I came up with this number of mock exercises recently, and they are non-existent, but they're kind of from my experience of working with brands. It's like give yourself like a pink or a purple triangle and try to put it in different scenes and try to do it that nothing else is pink, or try to do it that it's like the triangle of a particular material, like maybe out of glass, out of plastic, and try to play with it. Because if some brand hires you, they will probably be either a logo or some kind of item they want in a particular place. And with Midjourney, it's quite limited about like if it's a product, you can't really put it in a particular place. But the truth is you can do it with Stable Diffusion, and just kind of learning how to prompt these very narrow scenarios are quite useful. At least now. Probably this advice will not age well, but for right now.
No, that's actually really cool because it helps you dial in your skills. It helps you get more what you want to see out of it. That is really cool.
Yeah, like more control. You need to learn how to exercise control in AI. And that's why I encourage you to try and use different tools, because with in-painting, you have way more control. With Stable Diffusion control nets, you have way more control. Even with Midjourney, you now have Describe and you have Blend and you have other functions that you can just play with them to get a very specific result.
Describe is really fun. I'll be scrolling through Twitter. If I see an amazing piece of art, I just snag it, throw it into Describe, change up some of the words. Like, it's so cool. Describe is an amazing function.
It is cool, but it doesn't really teach you to write prompts, because the way it writes prompts.
Right.
A few days ago, I had my photo, I put it into Describe, I got a description, and then I rendered it, and I put it out. And people started asking me what those terms mean. And I was like, oh God, why did I do that to myself?
Yeah, it comes up with some funny words. Yeah.
With like really long, I would never use it if I wrote a prompt. That's why now I'm more careful. Like I completely rewrite that prompt to make sure I understand what is going on. Because it's a nice toy. Also, what you can do, you can just feed it to ChatGPT.
Well, I actually use ChatGPT. I've had ChatGPT create I found this from somebody on Twitter. I forget exactly who, but basically I created a formula in ChatGPT that's this long formula, and it chooses different settings and this and that. So I can just say, like, I would like 5 prompts about the Great Pyramid of Giza, and it'll spit out with all these different things, 5 prompts. Like I could ask for different kinds of colors, different kinds of surrealist ideologies, and it'll just, that comes out really cool. But it's obviously not me creating it, but like it spits out amazing images. And then it builds on itself. I'll say,
GPT-4 is like ChatGPT. I feel that's what everyone needs to learn, because that is like generative AI, like images and video and 3D. It's like very flashy. But what people actually use a lot and for work and like where
is GPT-4.
Yeah. GPT, it's God.
Have you seen the unlocked modes, like the what is it? Auto GPT.
Auto GPT. I did. I'm so disappointed.
You're so despondent? Yeah.
I am so disappointed.
Really?
I recently started running, and I run a few times a week, and I'm like training, and I was like, oh gosh, now I can optimize everything: my running, my sleeping, my nutrition, my motivation, everything with this auto GPT. And I put it all in, and I was like so like thrilled, and just tells me, okay, we're gonna search Google for some running stuff. Press enter if you agree. And I was like, if I need to press enter, this is not auto GPT anymore. I want it to be like I wrote and just give a solution that's so perfect. But that didn't happen. So I was like, it's a good idea, and I think it's a good first step towards it. But I think we need a bit more development in that space until like some things will happen like really automatically. But I am excited, like everyone else. I think it's brilliant to have this idea and to start working on it. Just really waiting when it's kind of. I am almost tempted to like get into it and try to program it, because I do have a background in software engineering, but at the same time I'm like, okay, I have other things to do, and other people are
doing it already. Right? I know. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, way more experienced in coding people. So we'll just wait for a month, and maybe then there will be a real auto GPT that will make me a better runner.
I think it will before too long. How about any other tools that that you might use a lot, like maybe for pitch decks? And I was actually going to ask, funny enough, for Andy, our amazing producer, are there any tools that maybe edit podcasts really fast and things like that? What do you know about what tools? Beautiful AI or Gamma?
I use Beautiful AI.
Beautiful's really cool. Yep.
I think it's so expensive though. It's just so expensive. But it's really great. When I started working, when I resigned from my startup position and I started freelancing, and I got my first like project interview where I was supposed to tell how I can implement it for the brand, I was like, I'm gonna make like a PowerPoint. And I have not done PowerPoints in like 10 years, because if you are a photographer or a journalist, you never have to do PowerPoints. It's not what you do. So I didn't even know where to start. And I looked, and you have to buy Microsoft something. And I was like, okay, is there anything AI? And I found Beautiful AI. And first, like, of course, you can use it for free. I don't know, for like one presentation or something. And it was so easy. I put everything in, and then I deleted something, and it just kind of rearranged itself so beautifully and fast. And I was like, wow, I can make this professional presentation that will look really like I am a professional. Not someone who hasn't done a presentation in 10 years. So I did it. And honestly, the brand was they were so impressed. And there were a lot of people for my project, because I'm not the only one doing AI. And after they hired me, they said that was the reason why they did it. They said, you put on so much work to prepare for our interview. And I was like, honestly, it took me like 5 minutes.
Wow, that's Beautiful AI.
Yeah, and now I think Beautiful AI shall sponsor me after this.
Yeah, I think they should. We're going to send this clip to them.
They don't know about my existence. But you know what? After that, every single meeting I come, I come with a beautiful AI presentation. Anywhere I go, like I teach a lot, and now I teach at universities. I used to teach only at schools. Now I started being invited to teach at universities. It's like everywhere I come, I make a presentation because it takes so little of my time and it looks so professional and great that it just kind of blows people's minds because they don't know beautiful AI yet. I'm sure in a year they'll be like, oh, okay, she made beautiful AI. I don't even remove the tag which says beautiful AI because I think you need to upgrade even more to remove it. It's a very expensive product, very expensive. But I think for now, because I don't know any other product like this that would be so like have so many templates and it's really, really great. And it really like made me get so many jobs. So it was worth it.
That's really
so
cool.
far.
I need to mess with that more. I love the idea of being able to create my own pitch decks and things like that because I really can't do it by myself.
It's really, really good.
Yeah.
As for podcasts, I actually don't know. I know that there are lots of like transcript and voice to something. But honestly, I haven't heard of any like podcast AI.
The only one that I was looking at earlier was Descript. I've heard of people mention that. I don't know if you know that one. No, okay. Yeah, Descript.
No, I
They
don't,
supposedly
but I'll
take
check
out
out.
like they take out all the likes and the and the for sures. If we
Right,
ask them how to say-
that's a cool thing.
Yeah. That was
That
a
is really
joke for Jenny because I say for sure a lot and people used to make fun of me all the time.
For sure.
Well, I want all of my like and to be kept.
You want it to be kept perfect. Andy, you got it.
Because there is DID and
I don't know what that is.
very, it's like an avatar. You can take a picture of me
Oh, sure.
and make it talk with my voice.
Right.
And it talks exactly
Yeah,
like
I have seen that. So you want if someone's going to upload this
but
audio,
it doesn't do it. Yeah, it's too perfect. It doesn't do. It doesn't
Right.
do 100 likes unless you write it. But then it's a little bit like that. But I feel like very soon we will really like embrace all of those human.
Yeah, I want to make one of myself so I can just type in and there's like a video of me saying whatever I wanted to say. I want that.
You can do it. It is also extremely expensive. That thing
Okay.
is so
Is
expensive
it?
that
Okay.
I didn't take myself to do it, but I saw my friends doing it. They showed me. It's impressive, but it's like unbelievable. Unless you really need it for some reason, it's just too expensive.
It's just a toy right now. Yeah. Andy does have individual audio tracks of all of us. If you did want your audio track, we could happily give it to you if that would help. Awesome. Well, this was a blast, Kris. I'm a huge fan. I love watching your progress, and I'm going to keep following you. Oh, you mentioned teaching at universities, and I saw that you announced University of Miami that you're going to be teaching a class.
Yeah.
I live down here, and
I wish it was in person.
Oh, it's okay.
But
It's going to be
remote.
yeah.
I teach in person here in New York.
Okay.
I will teach a class this week, actually, at Columbia University.
Wow.
And then I teach a class next week at New York University, NYU. The Miami one, I am very tempted, but it just takes time to fly back and forth.
Yep.
And my schedule is now just like really busy. So I don't think, and it's just for like, I don't know, 1 hour class.
Okay.
So
It's a one-time 1 hour class?
Yeah, I get invited to teach like a guest lecture in different universities.
Oh, that makes sense. It's like an already existing class and they bring you in.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's usually because a lot of them don't have like AI. Yeah, they have something like modern like media or something like this. And then if the professor really cares, they would invite someone who knows about AI to do a class. And that happens to be
Oh,
me
that's really
who
cool.
teaches.
That shows how early we are still. There's no
Yes,
classes.
so early.
Yes, so early. To the moon.
To the moon. Let's go. AI art. Yeah, this has been a pleasure. This has seriously been awesome, like learning about AI art and all of the struggles that come along with that as well. Hopefully everybody who tuned into this enjoyed this episode. Kris, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you. Yeah. Do you have any final words, I guess, before we just end this?
Or if you want to shout out any plugs or anything, whatever you want to talk about.
I just think that if you are just starting AI, surround yourself with people who are supportive and who are like learning and growing. And I think there are quite a few AI communities on social media. Facebook has one. There are groups. There are like AI groups on Facebook. LinkedIn is pretty good for AI. It's not very engaging, but there are few groups that are very welcoming and kind. Twitter is like a massive AI community. I'm fond of it now. Instagram is a bit less. I feel like that platform is a little bit dying. I kind of stopped really posting there anymore because I even tried to get verification, never heard from them. But surprisingly, there are a few people who are succeeding and who are succeeding on Instagram. They usually post reels and they post videos almost like TikTok, with AI animations and stuff. So it is possible. The only thing I would recommend just creating a new account, because I think when you create a new account, the platform kind of boosts you a little bit. But if you have an old account, like my account is quite old and I don't really get a lot of visibility there. Like sometimes I would post something on Instagram and it would get like 10 likes. And then I post it on Twitter and it is viral. So that's kind of the difference. But all platforms have people who are supportive and kind. So just find your tribe, stick to those people, grow together, because now is the time. If you start learning AI now, in a year, you will be among experts. You will be able to teach people around you. And even now, if you know a little bit, you can already teach your family, you can teach elderly people. Everyone has stories to tell, and AI is a great accessible technology for everyone. So just wishing you good luck. Anytime you can DM me on Twitter. I respond to everyone. Sometimes it takes me several days to get back, but I do try to respond to everyone.
Awesome. Well, I was very happy when you responded to me. You were like, yes, I'll do it. I was like, yes. It was awesome.
I do try my very best.
It was awesome. You took a lot of time out of your day. We really appreciate it.
Yes. All right. And with that said, thank you all for tuning into this episode. We will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFT Catcher Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new about the exciting world of NFTs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really love what you're hearing, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite platform. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news and insights from the NFT space, be sure to follow us on all the socials at NFT Catcher Pod. You can follow Jennifer at Jennifer_pseudo and Michael at NFTicket. I'm your producer, Andy, and I'm at AJC254. Our theme song's by It's Just Los. We always appreciate your feedback and support, which helps us reach more people and bring you informative and engaging content about NFTs. We look forward to bringing you more great NFT content in future episodes. Thanks for listening. Peace.